Welcome to Lymphedema Podcast. I'm Betty Westbrook, a certified lymphedema therapist and the voice behind Lymphedema Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to provide answers and explanations for people affected by the lymphatic disease, lymphedema. This podcast is for patients, family members, medical professionals, and anyone interested in lymphedema. Each month, I will discuss a new topic related to this disease to help you learn more and navigate better your journey ahead. Between shows, you can catch me on IGTV or Instagram TV, as well as monthly live Q&A sessions. I'm so passionate about teaching others about lymphedema that I created this podcast just for you. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're ready to learn something new today. Disclaimer. As a certified lymphedema therapist, all information provided is based on my professional experiences and education. I recommend that anyone who feels they have lymphedema or have been medically diagnosed with lymphedema seek in-person medical treatment from a certified lymphedema therapist. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 51 of Lymphedema Podcast. Today I have with me Stephen O'Hare. He is the president of Pedors Shoes. Stephen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me on.
You're welcome. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Yeah, sure. My brother and I, John, started the company in 1996. We were looking to develop an idea for an orthopedic shoe that utilized the latest material technologies so that we could have a lightweight shoe that could accommodate forefoot deformities, bunions, corns, hamatoes, that type of thing. And we started the company in 1997 after 2 years research and development. And it's kind of taken off from there. We're literally a family-owned business, a small business, and we've just progressed the business from there.
Very cool. Do you guys, what kind of background did y'all have before starting your business?
Marketing and sales. We had an international marketing company, my brother and I, and we provided services for companies that were looking to break into the US market. So companies from Europe and the UK, in particular, that were looking to explore the markets over here in the US, and that's how we got started in the US back in 1995, 96.
It's really interesting. So to start with orthopedic shoes, did you have a passion for hammer toes, or was that just something you fell into?
No, I didn't really have a passion for deformed feet, but we kind of fell into it. One of our customers in the UK was exploring the market over here, and we attended a pedorthic symposium, the PFA symposium in San Antonio, Texas, back in the late 90s. And some of the feedback that we got from that symposium suggested that the idea of an accommodative shoe that could use some stretch materials could help people with deformed feet, swollen feet, so forefoot deformities like bunions, corns, hamatoes, rheumatoid arthritis, that type of thing. And it kind of started from there. We developed a prototype, we presented that, and we actually relied on the pedorthists. They're the specialty shoe guys that will fabricate footwear to accommodate whatever is needed, whether it be a hamatoe or a bunion, or you might need a rocker sole or something like that. So they're the shoe guys that really kind of are an important component in the healthcare continuum for making sure that you've got shoes that fit and shoes that work for people with forefoot deformities or other associated foot problems.
Interesting. So I think we covered the history pretty well, unless there's something key in that story that we didn't get to. Anything else about the history of Pedors?
Yeah, well, the only other thing I suppose I'd add to that is that, we kind of listen to the marketplace and listen to the healthcare professionals and the pedorthists and the orthotists and the prosthetists and the podiatrists and listen to what they encountered. They're on the front line and seeing patients, and we kind of took our lead from them, and they were instrumental in how we developed different products and came up with different solutions. And we also, we've listened to patients themselves as well. We like to think of ourselves as an open book, and we welcome any input and feedback. And ultimately, that's what led us to developing some of our shoe lines for lymphedema.
So what is the secret sauce, if you would, in Pedors shoes?
Our material is a blend of neoprene and EVA. Neoprene, most people are familiar with, is like a diver's wetsuit material. And it gives a four-way stretch and gives a little bit of compression as well. And the other component in there is a medical grade foam called EVA. And so you've got a blend of neoprene and EVA. And so the neoprene gives it the stretch component. The EVA allows the material to be heat molded. So for example, if somebody has a severe hammertoe or maybe a severe bunion, a practitioner can spot heat mold is the term they use. And so they can put a form in there. Often people will use a golf ball or something like that. They'll stretch the material where they're hoping to make the accommodation, and then they'll gently heat the material up for about 3 or 4 minutes or so, and then they'll turn the heat source off, let the shoe cool down, and then once the shoe's cooled down, they'll take the golf ball or the form or whatever they're using out of the shoe, and the shoe will retain that mold. So it will give the patient or the customer a little bit more room within the shoe. So the secret sauce for our line of shoes is the pediprene, and it's a heat moldable material if needed. Often as not, people don't need that. They're just looking for something that can that can accommodate swelling over the course of the day. So it will stretch, as I said, give a little bit of compression, and that's the secret sauce for Pedors shoes.
Awesome. I've had a lot of patients actually that have purchased your shoes and worn them because they literally couldn't fit into anything else. A lot of times patients come into the clinic and they're barefoot, or they might be wearing some slide-on sandals that they have duct taped closed or something. And I know my little trick would usually be to tell them to get those little slide-on Velcro shoes once they're bandaged. So when they come in for treatment and we bandage their foot, what I would do is I would go get Velcro extenders and make it wider so that they could at least have something to cover their feet. But it's a huge deal, and you don't really think about it when you have fairly healthy feet or can at least, size up and fit into something. But when you've outgrown every shoe at a store, it's heartbreaking. And so I know that your product is well loved in the lymphedema community.
Well, yeah, thanks. The key to all of that, our take on that is that you want to go wider rather than longer. Obviously, in most shoe stores that are carrying inventory, they're catering to, 98% of their customer population have relatively normal feet. They might have, they'll have medium width shoes, which is like a BC fitting, or they may even have a wide shoe. Some shoe stores maybe even have an extra wide shoe. But when you've got lymphedema involved, particularly, with all the swelling on the top of the foot, it's accommodating that swollen foot that is the real challenge. And the best way to do that is to go wider rather than longer, because when you go wider, then you're actually increasing the volume inside the shoe that can accommodate that girth for the lymphatic foot. And so in our line of shoes, in the Pedors Classic, we make it in medium, which is like a BC fitting, wide, which is like a DE fitting, extra wide, which is kind of 2E, 3E. And then in the Classic Max, we start at 2E, 3E, so we start at extra wide. And the Classic Max is the shoe that most lymphedema patients end up in. And the Classic Max starts at the 2E, 3E. Then we go to 4E, 5E, which is the extra wide. which is for folks with lymphedema or severe swelling, and then for most lymphedema patients, because the volume is so big, they end up in our widest shoe, which is the 6E, 7E width shoe. It's the extra, extra, extra wide width shoe. And so that shoe has two big, long Velcro straps. And so the shoe opens all the way up. The patient can easily put their foot onto the footbed and then adjust the straps accordingly so that the shoe, fits onto the foot. And it works quite well. I mean, occasionally there may be the need for severe lymphedema where you might need to use, maybe take it to a shoe repair store where they can stitch on Velcro extenders like you described. But most of the time, the straps are usually long enough, and that works quite well. One of the risks of going, and this is what a lot of people end up doing because they're trying to get the girth in the shoe, is they go longer rather than going wider because the extra wide widths are just not available. And the risk there, of course, is that you end up in a shoe that might be able to accommodate the swelling and the girth, but you end up in a shoe that's really too long. So it's almost like you end up wearing like a clown shoe. And the risk there, of course, is that you could trip in that. And then you've got another whole slew of problems.
Yeah, that can be dangerous.
It can be really dangerous, yeah. Breaking a hip or whatever.
So are there any other accommodations for lymphedema in the shoes outside of like the 6E Max and the neoprene or the, what'd you call it? Pedoprene?
Yeah, we call it pedoprene. It's a kind of a blend of neoprene and pedoprene. Yeah, the depth there is one of the things, the unique things about that secret sauce blend of neoprene and EVA, the pedoprene, is that when we're actually making the shoe, so the material comes on to the last, comes on warm. And so one of the unique things about that is that we're able to mold the extra depth into the toe box. So there's plenty of room in that toe box for swollen toes as well. And also the shoe comes with a removable insert. So if a patient has their own custom device, a custom orthotic or an AFO or a brace or whatever, they can, the shoe can accommodate that as well. But yeah, there's plenty of depth in that toe box. And so the whole idea is to make sure that there's plenty of room to accommodate the lymphatic foot and the swollen toes. And it's wide as well, wide and deep.
And are these shoes covered by insurance?
So I think some insurance policies will help out. I think I've heard that some people have had some success with that, but generally, as a rule of thumb, most insurance companies, they take their guidance from Medicare, and at the moment there isn't any Medicare coverage for people with lymphedema for footwear. I do know that there is an effort underway. It's for the Lymphedema Treatment Act. It's a bill, and you can find more information on that. I think it's lymphedema-treatment-act.org. Mm-hmm. So there is obviously the need for footwear for people with lymphedema. I mean, it's undeniable. It's just, there's no other way to say it, really. They need specialty footwear to manage their condition. So there really ought to be coverage, and so it's important that I'm sure everybody on your podcast, your listeners on the podcast, appreciate that. Kind of getting behind that bill and reaching out to your member of Congress and asking them to support it.
And I actually want to go ahead and plug that in my email today from Heather, I got an email saying that you need to really call your Senate and get them to add the LTA to one of the upcoming bills. Yeah. It's all on the email. It's all on the website. You can call, you can fax, you can write it in. But usually it works best if you call the senator of your state, and you just tell them, hey, I'm a constituent and I really want to have your support with the Lymphedema Treatment Act. And it tells you what the Senate bill number is and everything. So yeah, you were totally right. It's lymphedematreatmentact.org. Thanks for listening to today's special feature on Pedors Shoes. As a special offer to Lymphedema podcast listeners, use the promo code LP15 for 15% off normal retail pricing. Pedors Shoes offers special sizing like their Classic Max, which comes in size 6E. That is extra, extra, extra wide. This is their secret to accommodating for swelling. Wider shoes, not longer shoes. Another special feature of Pedors Shoes is the double Velcro closure. This allows the shoe to open up so it's easier for you to put your shoe on. No more squeezing and jamming your foot into a shoe that's too small. As always, Pedors Shoes offers free shipping and returns. Try today risk-free by using your 15% off promo code at checkout. Call 1-800-750-6729 with any questions or chat online with a certified pedorthist. Check them out at www.pedors.com. That's PEDORS.com. And be sure to read the reviews while you're there. Okay, so when a patient needs to get some shoes, how do they go about that? Do they have to have a certified lymphedema therapist to help them, or can they order online?
They can order online. They can call in, and somebody can help them with the sizing. But we always encourage, when somebody is seeing a lymphedema therapist, we always encourage them to work with the therapist. One of the considerations is, of course, is if you're wearing any type of compression garments, then you want to take a measurement with the garment on. And the key measurement is the circumference around the arch of the foot. That's usually where the swelling is at its most. And then with that measurement, we can make a determination as to whether or not we think the shoe's going to work for them. On the website, on pedors.com, there's a sizing tab. And on that sizing tab, there are three measurements. There's the length, the width, and the girth. For lymphedema patients, the girth measurement is the most critical one, and you'll see there a table for the different sizes and the girth accommodation for each one. They're in inches to the nearest eighth of an inch. So basically, take a tailor's tape, measure the circumference all the way around the arch of the foot from one side all the way around to the other, measure that to the nearest eighth of an inch, and that will give you the girth measurement. And then for length, just if you can, take a tracing of the foot, again with the garment on, measure the longest length and the widest width, and then with those three measurements, you can tabulate what that size should be. Sometimes with a garment on, it might be a half a size bigger, or maybe even a full size bigger than what the foot would measure without the garment on. And generally speaking, if you're not wearing a garment, I always suggest that you go up half a size to what you perhaps normally wore prior to lymphedema. So if you used to be a women's size 10, then maybe order the 10.5. And the reason we do that is just to give a little bit more room in the toe box. If there's any swelling at the toes, just a little bit more room there to accommodate that. And that seems to work quite well. Now, if you get it wrong, if we get it wrong for whatever reason, you get the shoes and they don't fit, then you just call in. We'll send you a prepaid return label, and then you'll drop that off at UPS. They come back, and we'll exchange up or down a size or in or out or width, whatever it is that we need to do to get that shoe on your foot and fitting right. If for whatever reason we don't have anything that works, then we refund your money in full. So it doesn't really cost you anything to see if we've got something that can work for you. So the Classic Max usually, as I said before, is the shoe that most of our lymphedema patients end up in. And we make that in the 6E width, generally speaking, because of the girth, because of the volume we need. It's usually the 6E width. So the main focus there is just really trying to figure out what length. And so that tends to work quite well. So that's the primary lymphedema product that we have. The other product that we have is a fairly new product, is the Pedors Classic Slide, the SL600. which we made in the 6E width, a little bit of a different design. That just has one strap to it, but it has the aperture's a little bit wider than the closed back shoe, so you're able to slide that shoe onto the foot fairly easy, and a lot of our customers like that shoe as something that they might wear or use to put on in the middle of the night if they need to get up to go to the bathroom, or if they come in the house and they just want to slip it. It's like a slipper, house slipper. They just want something that they can wear. They can take off easy if they're putting the feet up on the couch or whatever. So that's something that works quite well. But the shoe that I like to see most of my patients in is that SL600, because that's something that you can be active in and walk in. Obviously, with the slide, with the slipper gate's compromised a little bit, but it's a convenient alternative, for in and around the house.
That's definitely smart, because a lot of patients, they do kind of just shuffle around the house and not have anything on. So that's really helpful. It's smart thinking on y'all's part.
Yeah, I wish we could claim to think it really came from a lot of our lymphedema patients, and that kind of draws back to what I was saying before. We like to think, everybody says this, don't they? Oh, we listen to our customers. We like to think that we do, because I don't have lymphedema. It's important to get the feedback. And so the slide came about very much because we had a number of people that said, hey, listen, I need something with an open back because of this, that, or the other, or I need something just to be able to go to the bathroom. So we kind of tinkered around with that a little bit. Until we got it right. And then, it's a successful product, and a lot of the people like it. Following on from there, we had a lot of people saying, hey, listen, I can't find a sandal for the summer that I want. I want something with an open toe, something that I can, I can wear in the summertime. And so we're in the throes now of developing a sandal that we're hoping to get some of those in fairly shortly. I've seen some of the prototypes, and basically it's just a flat footbed with two big, huge, long flaps with a Velcro closure that will come over the top of the arch, and so that people can accommodate the swelling and then have something open at the front and the back. So that seems to be a demand for that as well. So that's something else that has kind of come into being from the feedback that we've got from customers. And we like to think, like I say, we have an open channel for that. So if anybody's got any ideas they want to pass along, just email us at info@pedors.com or call the 800 number, 800-750-6729 is the contact number. If you've got any questions or any ideas or any input, like I say, we like to think that we're receptive to them. We never believe there's a bad idea out there, and generally speaking, it's an aggregate of ideas that help develop the new products.
That's great. There's no better person to develop a shoe for lymphedema patients than lymphedema patients. So definitely smart and well received by the lymphedema community to take their feedback, because all my patients, it's all they really ever say is they just want to be heard. Trying to tell their doctor about lymphedema, and the doctor's always like, I know best, I'm the doctor. Or the therapist, some therapists, they're just really set in their ways. It's, I know best, I'm the therapist. But yeah. They just want to be heard, and they do each have very specific individual needs. So that's really amazing that you kind of compile a lot of those recommendations and create a shoe that's best for most people with lymphedema.
Yeah. The folks that we help, so many of them have been really helpful from our side as well to help us develop these products by sharing the information with their therapists. It's not uncommon for me to get maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 calls a week from a lymphedema therapist saying, hey, a patient of mine came in with your product on, I really like it, can you send me a catalog and some information so that we can share that with some of our other lymphedema patients. And of course that's really helpful for us to help keep us going. Like I said, we're a small family-owned business that we've kind of developed these little niche products. We started off whereby most of our customers were diabetic patients. So we started off as a diabetic shoe company more than anything else. And because of the need for the incidence of lymphedema now, it seems to be on the increase. And really the lack of products that are out there. We're kind of really focusing more on the lymphedema side of our business because there is such a need. And so I'd encourage any of your listeners that have found our products to be helpful to share that information with the therapists. And if they want any catalogs or product literature, I'll be thrilled to send it to them or to their therapists because every little bit helps us and really helps us kind of develop these new products as well because obviously, it takes a lot of money to bring a new product out and launch it.
Yeah. Speaking of product, once the patient gets them, what's the maintenance like? Is there any special care or washing that needs to occur?
The shoe actually is designed as a machine washable shoe, and we actually send a wash bag out with each pair of shoes, and so you can put them in the wash bag, put them in a washing machine. The thing that you must not do is put them in the tumble dryer because there's a lot of glue in shoes, and if you put them in the tumble dryer, the glue kind of breaks down and things fall apart. So you've got to send them out and air dry them. It usually takes about 24 hours for them to air dry. And depending on the budget, if you can afford to do it, some people will have 2 pairs of shoes, and so that if there is an issue or there's a need to regularly wash the shoes, they'll wash one pair and then wear the other pair, and then the next day they might alternate them. But for scuffs and marks and just simple stuff like that, not usually an issue because the shoes at the moment we only make them in black. We are looking at bringing some other colors in later on in the year. But when those colors in the other Pedors products, the lighter colors pods, you just take a damp cloth with like a soap detergent, like Palmolive or any kind of mild dish detergent works well, and it should clean them up. It shouldn't be a problem.
Great. That's very easy. That's much easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's obviously it's important for some lymphedema patients. It's an issue, and so and for diabetic patients too. It's a fairly easy, fairly simple way to maintain them and keep them clean. Wouldn't do it every day, wouldn't put them in the washing machine every day, but once a week, once every 2 weeks or so should be okay.
Awesome. Well, Stephen, I think that is all for our questions. I know that if any of the listeners need to get in touch with you guys, you've listed the email address, info@Pedors Shoes, correct?
Yes, yeah. www.pedors.com is the website. If you click on the tab for swollen feet, you'll see a section there that talks to lymphedema and the instructions that we've kind of reviewed today over on the podcast. For your podcast listeners, we've actually created a special discount code, and that code is LP for Lymphedema Podcast, LP15. And so at checkout, if they do decide that they want to order something and they use that code, it should save them a little bit of money with a 15% discount.
Oh, that's exciting. I mean, it's already risk-free. You get free returns and shipping if anything is wrong with the shoe or it doesn't fit. So, 15% off sounds amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your listeners for listening in. And call in. I'm always happy to take a call. And if I can help anybody in any way, I'm thrilled to do so.
Awesome. All right, Stephen, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today. I know that everyone is going to get so much good information out of this. Again, the code for the 15% off discount is LP15. And go check out the website and email them if you have any questions or concerns. I know you guys listening out there can relate to having special questions or special requests whenever it comes to your foot care. So feel free to reach out to Stephen and his family at Pedors Shoes.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mother Teresa says, "Loneliness and the feeling of being unwanted is the most terrible poverty." This podcast is here for you to find friendship and a community for your journey with lymphedema. Email me with your story if you would like to share, lymphedemapodcast@gmail.com, or visit the website lymphedemapodcast.com to submit a topic for another episode.